Most travelers assume something very simple: if your passport is not expired, you're fine, and most of the time, that's true. But every year, travelers are stopped at check-in, denied boarding, or turned away at immigration even though their passport is technically still valid, not expired, not fake, not altered, still rejected. So what's going on? Today we're breaking down the real reasons valid passports get refused at airports, and how to make sure yours is never one of them, because in international travel, valid does not always mean acceptable. Let's start with the rule that surprises the most people: the 6-month validity rule. Many countries require that your passport be valid for at least 6 months beyond your date of arrival, or sometimes beyond your date of departure. That means if your passport expires in 4 months, even though it is still legally valid, you may not be allowed to board. Airlines check this before departure, because if they fly you to a country that refuses you entry, the airline is responsible for flying you back. So they enforce it strictly. Not every country requires 6 months, but, many do. Some require 3 months. Some actually calculate validity from your departure date rather than your arrival date. The important point is this: airlines check destination entry rules, not just expiration dates. If you're traveling internationally and your passport expires within 6 months, check your destination's official immigration website before flying. Really, do not assume. Now let's talk about physical condition. A passport can be rejected even if it's unexpired, simply because it's damaged. So, what counts as damage? Torn pages, water damage, loose binding, peeling laminate on the photo page, ink marks that obscure text, significant bends in the data page. Immigration systems rely on scanning the machine-readable zone at the bottom of the photo page. If that strip is scratched, blurred, or warped, scanners may fail. If the passport can't be scanned properly, officers may treat it as damaged. Even something that seems small to you, like a slightly detached cover or light water staining, can raise concerns. If your passport looks worn beyond normal travel wear, honestly, it may be safer to replace it before your trip. Next up, let's talk about insufficient blank pages. Some countries require 1 or 2 completely blank visa pages for entry stamps or visas, not just partially blank, fully blank pages. If your passport is full of stamps and doesn't have enough clear pages, boarding can actually be denied. This really catches frequent travelers off guard. They think the passport is valid just because it hasn't expired, but there's physically no space for new entry stamps. So, before you travel, be sure to flip through your passport and check how many fully blank visa pages you have left. Now here is something that causes confusion. Name mismatches. Your airline ticket has to match your passport exactly, not just close. Exactly. For example, if your passport says Jonathan Michael Smith and your ticket says John Smith, that can create a problem, especially on international routes. Middle names really matter in a lot of systems. Hyphenated surnames matter too. Even spacing and order can be important. The safest rule is simple: book flights using the name printed exactly on your passport's machine-readable zone. If there's any difference at all, contact the airline before you depart. Now, let's discuss something a bit more technical: machine-readable zone errors. At the bottom of your passport photo page there are 2 lines of letters and symbols. These are read by scanners all over the world. If that section is scratched, faded, or smudged, the system might not be able to verify your identity automatically. Officers can process you manually, but airlines often rely on automated systems at check-in. If a passport can't be read properly, the airline system may flag it. Again, this isn't about expiration, it's about the scan integrity. Another overlooked issue involves child passports. In many countries, passports issued to minors are valid for shorter periods than adult passports. Some are valid for 5 years instead of 10. Parents sometimes assume a passport issued recently is valid long-term, without checking the exact expiration date. Also, children's appearances change quickly. While this alone does not invalidate a passport, if a child looks significantly different from their passport photo, additional questioning can occur. That can delay boarding. Always double-check child passport expiration dates before booking international trips. Now let's move to visa technicalities. A passport can be perfectly valid, but if the traveler does not meet visa requirements for that destination, boarding may be denied. Some countries require electronic travel authorization, others require visas obtained in advance. Airlines verify these requirements during check-in. If your nationality requires a visa and you do not have one, the airline may refuse boarding even if your passport is valid. The passport itself is not the issue. Entry eligibility is. This is why checking official embassy or immigration sources before travel is essential. Next, passport validity versus stay length. Some countries require that your passport remain valid for the entire duration of your intended stay. If your passport expires during your trip, even if months away, that may violate entry rules. For example, if you plan a 3-month stay, but your passport expires in 2 months, you may not be allowed entry. This varies by country, but it is another reason expiration date alone is not the only factor. Let's also talk about alterations. Any unofficial modification to a passport can invalidate it. That includes peeling laminate, unauthorized stickers, writing in pages, and decorative covers that damage binding. Even if done accidentally, these changes can raise red flags. A passport is a government document. If it appears altered, officers may treat it as compromised. Finally, there is something less visible, but equally important. System discrepancies. Airlines use global databases to verify travel documents and entry requirements. If there is an inconsistency between your booking details and passport information in the system, it can trigger alerts. Sometimes this is due to data entry errors. Sometimes it is due to previous travel overstays or visa issues. This is rare, but it happens. In such cases, resolution usually requires airline or immigration clarification before boarding. So what does all this mean? It means passport validity is more than a date. It is expiration timeline, physical condition, scan readability, blank page availability, name accuracy, visa compliance, destination entry rules. When someone says, "But my passport was still valid," they are usually focusing only on expiration. Airlines and immigration authorities evaluate the whole picture. The good news is this: most passport rejections are preventable. Before international travel, check your expiration date against destination validity rules, inspect your passport for physical damage, confirm blank visa pages, ensure ticket name matches exactly, verify visa or entry authorization requirements. Do this at least several weeks before departure, not the night before your flight. Because airport counters are not negotiation desks, they are compliance checkpoints, and once boarding closes, systems rarely reopen. International travel runs on documentation precision. If you treat your passport as more than just an expiration date, you dramatically reduce the chance of ever hearing the words, "I'm sorry, we can't board you." And that is a sentence no traveler wants to hear.